Hello everyone. So today we're going to read Top Secret by John Reynolds Gardner. Chapter 8 is called The President. How do you go about meeting the President of the United States? Do you just call him up on the telephone? Hi, I'm Alan Brewster. I'm 9 years old, and I was wondering if you were busy this afternoon, because if you're not, I would like to talk with you. What about? Oh, well, you see, I want you to tell everyone that I'm a plant. It would never work. He'd think I was some kind of nut. I couldn't tell the president why I wanted to see him until I was with him. Well, would the president wanted to see me? The answer to my question came the next day when I saw the morning newspaper. It was a photograph of the president on the front page. He was standing underneath a large banner that had the letters SWS printed on it, and he was shaking hands with Peggy Applegate's father, Mr. Applegate. I remembered my father mentioning on an organization called SWS that day a picture appeared in the paper. So I read the whole article and found out that Mr. Applegate was the head of local chapter of SWS. SWS is for an organization called Stop World Starvation. They send food to kids living in poor countries, kids that don't have enough to eat. I read that the president had promised to help SWS in every way he could, although he never mentioned exactly what he was going to do. Well, I knew what to do. With my discovery, no one would ever have to go hungry again. People could simply turn themselves into plants. I had a good reason to see the president. Now, he had a good reason to see me, but would he want to see a 9-year-old kid? I decided to write him a letter. That way, he wouldn't know how old I was, especially if I spelled the words right. After several attempts, this is the letter I came up with. Dear Mr. President, I read about you in an article in our local newspaper. It said you were interested in ending world starvation. Well, I've made a discovery that will enable you to do this. If you're interested, please let me know and I will tell you what it is. Thank you very much. Sincerely, Alan Brewster. I didn't feel it was wrong to call myself a researcher, not after all I'd been through. The newspaper had said that the president was staying at Plaza Hotel in town. So when I heard my mom to leave the grocery shopping, I got dressed, got on the bicycle and rode over there. I was afraid if my mom saw me, she'd think I was well enough to go back to school. But I couldn't, not until I had proof from Miss Green. I gave my letter to the desk clerk at the Plaza Hotel, who promised to give it to the president. There was nothing to do then but wait. It had rained earlier that morning, but by now it was just kind of overcast. As I stood in the back porch, I found that I could not take my eyes off on the mud puddle of Grandpa's garden. As if attracted by a giant magnet, I found myself walking toward the puddle, taking off my shoes and socks as I went. I smiled as I put one foot to the dark water. I felt the cold, slippery, and mud ooze between my toes. I put my other foot in. I can't describe the feeling. It was as if I somehow belonged there in the Grandpa's garden, like I never wanted to leave. I looked up and saw Grandpa staring at me. I'm sorry, Grandpa, I said. I will get out of your garden right away. Don't be ridiculous, replied Grandpa before I could move. I've been saving a place for you. You know, I said, smiling again as I dug my toes deeper to the mud. Plants don't have such a bad life. They're outside, plenty of fresh air, no chores to do. They keep to themselves, added Grandpa. Don't bother anybody. Wish I could say the name for people. It's just too bad they can't read, I said. I would sure miss my encyclopedias. Just then my father appeared at the back door. He was home early from work. What on earth are you doing? He yelled at me. Nothing, I answered, wondering what he meant. Get out of that mud this minute. Wash up and come inside. There's something here to see you. Someone here to see you. Someone to see me? I wondered if it could be the president. Grandpa sprayed my face with a hose, then gave me an old t-shirt to dry off with. As I was drying my feet, I felt some bumps in the bottom of my toes. I twisted my foot around and examined it. Just below the surface of the skin were some black spots. They seemed to be pushing their way toward the surface. Grandpa, I called out, come look at these. Grandpa examined the bottom of my toes. Those aren't what I think they are they? They sure are. Grandpa was smiling. You're sprouting roots, boy. What if I had stayed in the mud a little longer? Would they have taken hold? Could I have gotten away? Would I have to spend the rest of my life in the garden? Grandpa didn't answer me. He just began to chuckle. Grandpa! I put my shoes on and socks as fast as I could and went into the house. There were 3 people waiting for me at the living room. The President of the United States was not one of them. It was my mom and a dad and a tall, overweight man smoking a cigarette who was introduced to me as Dr. Wedmere. I'm a part of this, said the man, smoke coming out his nose and mouth as he talked. Do you know what politics is, Alan? You're a shrink. Alan, said my mother. I apologize. Dr. Wedmere smiled, keeping his lips tight so as to not show his teeth. Your parents asked me to talk with you because they're worried about you. They say you're not eating. They say you give your food to the dog and cat. Is that true? Yes. All this time I thought I had been fooled. I guess my folks are pretty smart after all. This is the picture. Why don't you eat your meals? Asked Dr. Wedmere. If I tell you, you won't believe me. Nobody believes me except Grandpa. Try me, said a cigarette as he blew smoke out of the corner of his mouth. Okay, I said. I'm a plant. I believe you. You do? Yes, Alan. I believe that you think you're a plant. The man snuffled his cigarette out of the ashtray. What kind of plant are you? I don't know. I never thought about it before. Plants have roots, Alan. Do you have roots? Yes, baby ones. Show them to me. I took off my shoes and socks and showed Miss Dr. Wedmere the black spots on the bottom of my toes. I also showed my mom and dad. Mom started to cry. Dr. Wedmere wrote something down in a small notebook. Your parents tell me you love banana splits, Alan. Is that right? They're my favorite, I said. I mean, they used to be before I became a plant. I have one in the kitchen right now. Would you like it, Alan? Thank you, but I just get sick. And anyway, I wouldn't be able to taste it. Why is that? I don't have any taste buds anymore. I stuck out my tongue, and my mom started to cry again. Dr. Wedmere touched my tongue. He's right, he told my parents. He's as smooth as a whistle. The way things are going, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if I sprouted leaves next spring and maybe some new limbs. Dr. Wedmere continued writing in his notebook. I noticed his lips moving. He looked up and cocked his head to the side. Why are you standing like that, Alan? Like what? And then I noticed I was tilted in the direction of the table lamp. I was a little embarrassed. I'm sorry, I didn't realize, but plants do grow in the direction of light, you know. Dr. Wedmere jotted down some notes. As I stood there watching him, I felt a sigh of relief. At last I've been able to convince someone. I didn't need the president after all. The cigarette put away his notebook and lit up another cigarette. That was the second in less than 15 minutes. You have a psychosomatic illness, he said, smiling again, his lips tight. He leaned back on the couch and crossed his legs. What does psychosomatic mean? I asked. It means, Alan, that it's all in your mind. You believe you're a plant. You believe it so much that you began to act like a plant. That explains your skin color, your not eating, your roots, lack of taste buds, everything. You're a plant because you think you're a plant. It's all in your mind. I don't think I'm planted. I know I'm a plant. Stop it, said my father, coming over to me. You heard what Dr. Wedemere said. What does it have to convince you? Me? What does it have to convince you? Nothing will ever convince me. I don't care if you got the President of the United States to say that you're a plant. I still wouldn't believe it. You're my son, and my son is not a plant. The doorbell rang. It was the man with the telegram. It's for you, Alan, said my mom with a funny look on her face as she handed me the telegram. It's from the President of the United States. Chapter 9 is called Top Secret. Things happened so quickly after that it's hard for me to remember everything. The telegram said that a car would pick me up at 3 afternoon. I explained all about my letter to my folks. They didn't say much. They were stunned. At 10 minutes after 3, a brown car appeared with 2 men in it. Both men were tall and had dark hair. They both wore suits. They both had sunglasses. They drove me to the Plaza Hotel. We rode the elevator together to the penthouse. No one said a word. Inside the penthouse, I was met by a white-haired man who looked very disappointed. Why, you're just a boy, he said, and a green boy at that. Whoever the man was, he was not the President of the United States. I'm sorry, sir, I said, but I was afraid that if the President knew my age, he wouldn't want to see me. The white-haired man thought for a moment, and I noticed several rows of wrinkles appear on his forehead. You're right, he nodded. He wouldn't have. I didn't lie, sir. If the President would have asked me, I would have told him how old I was. It was just that. The man waved his hand, indicating that he didn't want to discuss the matter any further. I'm impressed with your cleverness. I smiled. So was I. May I see the President now? I asked. He's not here. What? The President had to return to Washington. He has a country to run, you know. But don't worry, I'm one of the President's chief advisors. Name's Kirby, I know, by the way. We shook hands and Mr. Kirby led me into the penthouse living room, which had a blue rug, white furniture, and red drapes. The view was breathtaking. The President, continued Mr. Kirby, has given me strict orders to treat you with the most and utmost respect. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, even if you are only a boy. I know about strict orders, I laughed. Mr. Kirby didn't. In your letter, said Mr. Kirby, relaxing in one of the white couches, you mentioned something about the discovery that would end the world civilization. Was that the truth, or you were just being clever again? It was the honest truth, sir, I swear it. Mr. Kirby gave me a long look, and the wrinkles of his forehead appeared again. I'm curious how a boy in your age would approach the problem. He motioned towards an overstuffed easy chair. Have a seat and tell me about it. I talked with the President's advisor for a whole hour. I told him all about my discovery and about Miss Green and the silver trophy, and about my parents and Mr. Wedemere, and the fact that nobody believed me except for Grandpa. I don't expect you to believe me either, sir. Not without proof. But I think I figured out the way to prove it. How's that? Mr. Kirby looked at me without blinking. You can watch me, I told him, for a week, a month, for however long it takes. I won't eat anything, nothing at all except water and sunlight. Have a doctor examine me every day. You will say I stay healthy without eating. And if it works for me, then it will work for the starving people in the world. What do you think? Mr. Kirby sat motionless for a moment. Then he sprang off the couch and went to another room where I saw him make a phone call, although I couldn't hear what he said. When he came back to the room, he looked very serious. The President says, it's a go. All right. At first, my dad said no to the whole deal, but after he received a personal phone call from the President, he changed his mind. The next 10 days went by really fast. I stayed right there at the hotel with Mr. Kirby. We went swimming every day and had long talks and watched TV together in the evenings. The President advisor liked monster movies just like Grandpa. Just before I went to bed every night, I was examined by a team of doctors. It was really fun. They would do all kinds of tests, muttering to themselves things like amazing or I can't believe it. They also asked me lots of questions about my discovery, like what kind of peanut butter did I use? Was it creamy style or crunchy? What kind of fish did my dad have at saltwater aquarium? You should have seen their faces when I told them that one of the ingredients I used was liver. How could you drink it? One of the doctors asked, his face all twisted out of shape. It was rough, I told him. The doctors told me that they had their computers working 24 hours a day trying different combinations of my ingredients, hoping to duplicate my experiment. The whole thing reminded me of Grandpa's story about the cheese sandwich and a vat of gold. At the end of 10 days, during which time I had zero to eat, except water, I declined any fertilizer. The present advisor called off the test. This is the picture. He didn't look very happy when we met together to talk, so I asked him, "What's wrong?" I proved it, didn't I? Mr. Kirby didn't answer me right away. Instead, he handed me 2 small white pills and a glass of water. "Take one of these, Alan," he said, "and in the morning, take a second one if you have to." "What are the pills for?" "They'll change you back to normal. Our computers figured out it's simply a matter of increasing the red blood cells until the effect of magnetism is neutralized." Then I did prove it, didn't I? "I can't tell you that." "What do you mean you can't tell me?" "The discovery of the human platycidus has been classified top secret, which means that any unauthorized culture could result in grave danger to the nation. "I don't understand, Mr. Kirby." "What I'm saying, Alan, is that your discovery is considered very, very important to the safety of the country. So important that only certain people are allowed to know whether it really works or not. And I'm afraid you are not one of them." "But it was my idea." "Not anymore, Alan. Now it belongs to the government." And I was more confused than ever. My discovery would end the world's salvation. Isn't that a good thing? Yes, it is. But there is many bad things about your discovery. Like what? How could a discovery be bad? I wondered. "For one thing," answered Mr. Kirby, "it would bring on the collapse of the entire economy. Businesses that would go broke and millions of people would lose their jobs." "Why?" "Because if people don't have to eat, then there would be no need for food. And did you know, Alan, the food industry is the largest industry in the country?" "No, I didn't." "The discovery would put all the farmers out of work, and all the cattlemen and the fishermen, and the people who process food and package it and transport it to the market. Not to mention the supermarkets, the restaurants, the hamburger stands. There would be no need of bread, milk, or fruit, or vegetables, or lunch pails, or thermos bottles, or even toothpicks." "Toothpicks? If people didn't eat, then they won't get food stuck in their teeth. Now, will they?" "I didn't realize it," said. "But couldn't all these people find something else to do?" "That's the second thing wrong with your discovery," said the president advisor. "One of the main reasons people work is because they have to eat. With your discovery, people would stop working, and if no one works, then how is the government going to stay in business? The government needs to tax people who work. That's how it gets its money. But if no one works, couldn't the government earn its money by the way other people do?" "Don't be ridiculous," Mr. Kirby laughed. "What would you have us do? Sell vacuum cleaners?" "Sure, if that would keep people from starving." Mr. Kirby looked at me as if he had just been hit in the head by a spitball. "I'm sorry, Alan, but my orders came from the president himself. Your discovery is considered top secret. You must promise that you will never tell anyone how you did it." "But what about my parents and Miss Green?" "No one." "Why have you promised?" I looked at the floor. "Yes," I said, "I promise." Please subscribe and meet you next time. Bye!